Allow me to postulate for you two different scenarios. Picture, if you will, that the universe exploded from a single point, and then over time, clumps of it formed together to produce stars, planets, billions and billions of galaxies alone, with billions of stars and billions of planets, just in single galaxies. And out of those billions, one happened to have the right conditions for life, for chemicals to start interacting with each other in such a way that they cooperated, formed colonies, and eventually you got the first single-celled organism. And over time, that organism overcame enough hardships to become multicellular. And then finally, an invertebrate, a vertebrate, to crawl out onto land, to produce a diverse number of species that would eventually populate that planet. And overcoming hardship and trials would rise up to become a species as industrious and enterprising as the human race, to be able to have the civilization we see today through all of that hardship and struggle. Or a magical sky being just poofed it all into existence and said, "There you go, I built this for you." Now, of those two scenarios, which one sounds the more vain? Which one sounds the more full of yourself? Let's do this. So there's this guy, Theus77, and normally he is just way the fuck too boring to respond to, but this time around he said some shit I just could not let pass. So, let's have a look.
So anyway, video is about all people knowing God and that they're aware of Him.
Do you have even the faintest clue how much I hate that shit? No, everybody is not aware of God, and it doesn't matter how many times you assert that, it won't make it true. And frankly, when you or other religious people say it, it sounds like you're trying to convince yourselves, because you know you're full of crap. So if you say, oh, everyone knows God, the ones who deny Him are just, rebelling or whatever, every time you say that, it sounds like you're trying to make yourself feel better about the fact that you're just playing pretend.
And what better place to start than Genesis 1:1? In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth.
Did He? Prove it. No, really, prove it. I dare you.
And, we believe this by faith.
Knew you couldn't. Knew you couldn't prove it. Because faith is nothing more than believing shit for no good reason.
God spoke and it was so, right?
So what? The universe is nothing more than divine halitosis? Come on.
And so we believe this by faith. Now, many people will say, well, Christians or whoever have a blind faith. It's a blind leap of faith.
Well, I'm happy to have you prove otherwise. Just produce some evidence, pal. Come on. Little bit of evidence. That's all I ask. Huh?
However, that's simply not the case, right?
Wrong.
What I would say is that we have a reasonable faith, and that's what God says. We have a reasonable faith.
So, let me see if I got this right. The guy who says that you have to have faith tells you that your faith is reasonable, and you believe him.
Psalm 14:1, Psalm 53:1 say this. It say, but the fool hath said in his heart there is no God.
So the people with a vested interest in you believing in God tell you you're foolish if you don't. And again, you fall for it hook, line, and sinker.
And the Bible's not engaging in name-calling here. It's simply a descriptive word.
An insulting descriptive word, but hey, it's not an insult.
Meaning somebody who will not think or act according to right reason.
Pretty apt description of faith, wouldn't you say?
So it's reasonable. And a person who says no to God is unreasonable.
And once again, you sound like you're trying to convince yourself. I say no to God because there's no evidence for Him, because I won't engage in faith, because I prefer facts instead. The fact that you don't prefer facts makes it sound like you're playing a child's game of make-believe and insisting that it's true, and somehow we're the unreasonable ones?
It's not a matter of intellect, it's a matter of the will. It's not a matter of ignorance, but of rebellion.
This is the only rebellion I care about, the rebels versus the Empire from Star Wars. I'm sorry, but I cannot rebel against something that I don't think exists. So no, I'm not rebelling against your stupid God. I'm saying that you're full of crap and that your God doesn't exist. And I'm saying, prove me wrong if you can, because I might be on your side. For all you know, if it turns out that your God is real, you just have to convince me in an actually reasonable way, which you refuse to do because you insist on faith instead of facts, instead of evidence. It's just not going to work that way, pal.
In Romans chapter number 1, verse 18, it says that the wrath of God...
The wrath of who?
The wrath of God is being revealed from heaven against all ungodliness and unrighteousness of men, who suppress the truth in unrighteousness.
But what is the truth? And I don't mean that as some philosophical conundrum spouted out in a coffee shop somewhere. No, I mean, how do I know that your side is the truth? You refuse to prove it, you insist I use faith, so I can hardly be on your side. The reason I'm against you is because, as near as I can tell, your side has been either disproven or unproven. That's why I'm against you. And you say that I'm somehow unrighteous because I'm not on your side? But I'm not on your side because you haven't shown your side to be true. That's it. I mean, seriously, how difficult is this for you? Why is it that religious people insist that I believe without proof, without evidence, that I engage in faith instead? I think it's because your religion is false. That's why.
Many times you'll hear people say, I don't see any evidence for God. Well, the evidence is all around you.
No, I don't see evidence all around me. Not of God, anyway. I see evidence of the universe. I see evidence of matter. I see evidence of physics. I see evidence of things that can be shown to be true, that can be proved. So how about you show me a little direct evidence of God? Not this, oh, just look around you crap. Oh, look at the beauty of the universe crap. That doesn't prove anything to me but that I have emotions. It doesn't show me that there is some supreme being out there. I'm sorry, you have to do better than that, and you know it.
You look around you and you see design, you see purpose.
No, I don't. And even if I did, that wouldn't be enough. I mean, you could see design and purpose in this universe if it was created by superintelligent aliens, never mind a god. So, no, I'm sorry. Even if I did see design and purpose in this universe, it wouldn't get me to your God existing. You're gonna have to do better.
You look within you, and you see
organs.
You see purpose. You see more than matter.
Maybe you do, but I don't. Your imagination must be better than mine, pal.
You see a wonderful God that transcends all of this. And many people are suppressing that truth.
Except the one thing it isn't is truth. It's feeling.
Okay, we just read a few verses now going on. It says, because that when they knew God, again, everybody knows him and that they're aware of him.
You can say that as many times as you like, and it won't make it true. I'm sorry. Stop trying to reassure yourself of bullshit, because I am not aware of your God, except as fiction.
They glorified him not as God, neither were thankful, but became vain in their imaginations.
Excuse me? Vain? Imagination? Are you kidding me? We're taking a look at the facts and saying, what do the facts show? Regardless of our preferences, regardless of our imagination, what do the facts show? And to you, that's vain and imagination? Are you fucking kidding?
They look at the world and say, it just happened. It's vain.
Vain? Really? Because it seems to me that saying that the blind forces of science managed to come together to produce a somewhat imperfect world and being such as myself is a lot less vain than to say, oh gosh, I was created by this magical sky being that created this universe and this world specifically for me and my kind. Seriously, which one do you think is the height of vanity, really?
It's just... there's no purpose out there. It just, everything happened by absolute chance.
Anybody who has studied science knows that this universe has some properties that allow certain things to happen and other things can't happen. That's hardly chance.
All the order in the universe and the fine-tuning of the universe and the incredible complexities that we see in life, it just happened.
Fine-tuned? Seriously? Have you been listening to televangelists again? Pathetic. And this universe is not fine-tuned. There is a lot of margin for error in this universe. I mean, there are some televangelists out there who like to tell you that if the Earth was just a tiny bit further or closer to the sun, that life would not be possible. But then, if you check out this Earth's orbit, you will notice that we vary in distance from the sun quite a lot from season to season. Our orbit is elliptical, not circular. So, I'm sorry, but fine-tuned my ass.
These forces, they just are, and it was just predestined that they would all work together to make this what we see around us, what we see and experience.
And you've got it completely ass backwards. The universe is not adapted to us, not fine-tuned to us. We adapted to the universe. That's how evolution works. Those which had the properties, the traits necessary to survive in their environment went on to produce offspring. And those offspring passed on those survivable traits to their offspring. That's how it worked. If this universe were different, we'd have different traits, because that's what would have taken to survive in this universe. You've got it backwards. You're looking and saying, wow, isn't the universe fine-tuned for life? No, life is fine-tuned for the universe.
That's vain imaginations, and there's a lot of imagination in the theory of evolution.
Vain imagination? Really? You clearly haven't done your homework, pal. Anyone who actually looks up evolution, looks at the facts, looks at the evidence, can't reach any other conclusion. But it happens to offend your personal sense of what should be, and it happens to challenge your cherished notions of religion, and therefore you reject it. Well, I'm sorry, but the universe does not cater to your whims and your wishes. The facts are the facts, whether you acknowledge them or not. And you happen to be on the wrong side.
It starts out with a presupposition that there is absolutely no supernatural and that all there is natural.
No, it doesn't. There's no presupposition there, except the presupposition that anything which is true, anything which exists, can be shown with evidence, and nobody has ever shown that God exists with evidence. You all insist on faith instead. So I'm sorry, until you can scientifically prove that God exists with evidence, then I'm going to stay on this side, on the secular side, on the skeptical side, on the side of reality.
So these are many different things that we see in the theory of evolution, and it's all built on faith and naturalism.
It's not built on faith at all. It's built on evidence, on testing. We check to make sure we're right. That's not faith. That's the very opposite of faith.
Vain.
You keep using that word. I do not think it means what you think it means.
Vain imaginations.
Hardly. I think that people checking to make sure that they're right and admitting it when they're wrong is anything but vain or imagination.
And then it says, professing themselves to be wise, they became fools. In other words, the person who stands up and says, I am extremely brilliant, I have a PhD, I have these credentials, and proceeds to preach these vain imaginations. They make themselves a fool.
And what? To you, anybody with an education, anybody who has a clue, anybody who's willing to engage in critical thinking and to explain what they've learned through this method of critical thinking is foolish? Really? So what? Only those who play with faith, which as far as I can tell is nothing more than playing pretend and forgetting that's what you're doing, only those are the people who can possibly have a clue? Really? That's just... I'm sorry, but I'm trying to avoid face-palming because my hand will go through my head.
And again, this is not meaning to be mean or offensive.
Not that I believe in hell, but the path to it is paved with what, again? I don't care whether you meant to be offensive or not. You managed it anyway.
I mean, this is just what the Bible is saying. I'm just trying to expound upon that.
Then the Bible is offensive. Either way.
So I invite everybody at the end of my videos, Jeremiah 29:13, he says, you seek me and find me when you search for me with all your heart.
My heart doesn't do my thinking. My heart pumps blood. And you're a chowderhead. Until next time, fellow space travelers, this is BionicDance saying don't run on automatic. Instead, please, think. Right, Columbia? Duh. Ignorance killed the cat. Curiosity was framed.